Victor early or late last week when he asked me to do this. I had been bugging him for a couple of years, like, maybe I should come down, maybe I should do this or whatnot. And I said, Vic, I said, this works out great. All it took was a global pandemic for me to finally be able to talk to y'all's class. And I'm so happy about that. Not about the pandemic, but, you know, baby steps. So, so thank you so much. Coming to you live from the studio temporary here in Atlanta. And very little bit about me. I do design, illustration, type design, packaging, products, posters, apparently a lot of things that start with a letter P, and just have a really good time doing this. Last week I celebrated my 5th anniversary running the studio full time. As a good designer, I commemorated it with a poster, which I'll show y'all later. But it kind of gave me a chance to look back and really see, you know, what really happened. You know, like what it took to kind of get to this point. And it's a lot of reflection and everything. And I've got plenty of time to do that these days. So what I'm going to do, let me share the old screen here for a second. I'll scoot over here. So a little bit about me. This is me. This is my studio mantra: freedom to work, freedom to live. And, you know, obviously thanks for having me from Atlanta, da, 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 da. So what I want to do really, really quick is just give you guys a little bit of a background on me, where I came from, and I'll show some work, show you some fun stuff, and then I'm going to do everything I can to leave you guys as much time as possible for Q&A, because I really want to make that happen. Born in '85, lovely, awesome parents. My dad's a machinist, still is. My mom's school teacher. And financier and everything like that. When my dad started his business, she did the books and everything like that. An incredible mom, worked very, very hard. My dad the same way. I did a lot of, you know, it's the typical artist story. You know, I did a lot of drawing as a kid. I was weird as a kid, but I did play sports. So there was that one little difference there. But it was just, I don't know, it was just kind of a regular childhood. Now, one of the things that I did always enjoy was math. Loved math, loved doing that. My original major going into college was going to be mechanical engineering. So my senior year of high school, I did trigonometry, physics, calculus. I mean, I was doing all of that stuff. I graduated from high school at 16, went to college, and right before my my high school graduation, I went and, you know, just kind of visited the college one more time. Spent the whole time in the art lab. I just couldn't get away from. I just couldn't get out of there, and something just hit me. It's like, this is what I'm really needing to be doing. So I started doing. I changed my major from mechanical engineering to what at the time was called studio art. So we're talking pen and pencil and what is it, pen and pencil and, you know, stipple and cross hatching and oil painting and all that kind of stuff. And I did that for about 2 years. After the end of 2 years, I was done. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I was good at what I did, don't get me wrong. But one of the things that I always loved as a kid, and especially working on with my dad's shop, I love making things and things that didn't already exist, right? When I was doing so much of my illustration, fine art, it was basically me looking at what was there and just drawing it or painting it or whatever. And I just couldn't do it. You know, I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I was literally one mouse click away from changing my major back to mechanical engineering. And I said, you know what, I'm going to give it one more semester. I went back in. The first class I took was a design class. And I immediately switched my major to graphic design about an hour into that class. I didn't know that it was a career. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that I could do it. I didn't realize I'd been doing it my entire life without even knowing it. And this is 2004, you know? I mean, just, it was crazy. So I immediately jumped in there. The first project we did was a logo project. It was amazing, and I loved it. And if you're noticing the big disparity between the years, I did sit out for one of the years between there. It's a long story. I'll tell you in person sometime. In 2008, in 2007, things became really awesome. I got to go to my first ever design conference. It was the How Conference in Atlanta, Georgia in 2007. It was insane price, but I decided to give it a shot. The first person that I ever heard talk, first designer that I ever heard talk. Has anybody ever heard of a guy named Chip Kidd? Chip Kidd, man. One of the most incredibly funny, talented, just unique personalities and talents in the design world. And I'm sitting there going, man, there's humor in this. There's a lot of humor in this, in his talk, and just all of these incredible things that he was doing, you know. But the second person that I met changed my life. Steph Geisbuehler. And if you've never heard of Steph Geisbuehler, you may have heard of these guys, Shemaev, Geismar, the old trademark book, and this little company called NBC. Same guy who did the NBC logo all those years ago. He's in his 70s now. He is he's actually teaching in Savannah here in Atlanta. It's at SCAD in Savannah, Georgia. And I got to know him. He actually, for about a year, became kind of a mentor to me. So just over email and everything like that. He told me story upon story upon story of his early career. It was unbelievable. I mean, for him to get to that point. And I saw that this could be something amazing. In 2008, graduated and got engaged to my wonderful wife of now a little over 11 years. My lovely wife, Julie. You'll see more about her in a minute. Thank you. I appreciate that. Excuse me. And it's been, man, it's just been an amazing, oops, let me get that out of here. It's been just an incredible time. Now, 2008, I started an internship at a place called the Jones Group in Atlanta. It was, you know, it was a 4-month internship, and I said, man, this is going to be great. It's going to be amazing. And then the economy kind of tanked. 2008 wasn't a great year for a lot of stuff, and it turned out I graduated right into a recession. So these were pretty rough years. 2009 to 2011, man, I get laid off and laid off and laid off. You know, at the end of 2010, I was working at an Apple store. And not even a real Apple store. It was called Peach Mac. I couldn't even get a job at a real Apple store. I was giving stuff away. I was trying so hard. I was like, I can't do this. I can't get a job. I can't find a job. Everybody needs 3 to 5 years of experience, and I haven't even been out of school 3 years. You know, it's insane. It was nuts. And I tried a little freelance here, a little freelance there. I learned a lot of incredible stuff. But into beginning of 2011, working at the Apple store, Peach Mac, sorry, Apple. Working there, and I happened to sell a computer to this guy who ran a trucking company up in Conley, Georgia, just outside of downtown Atlanta. Sold him a computer, and at the time, I was only using design as a sales tool. That's it. And he came up to me and said, "Actually, I might have some freelance for you. Can you come up and talk to me? Next week?" Yeah, sure, that's fine. So I take a half day. I go up there. I meet with him. We sit down. We talk for a minute. He asked me to update his iPhone. I said no. So we sat down and just said, he said, all right, well, you know, truth be told, he said, I don't have any freelance for you. I'm pissed at this point. I try not to let it show, but I didn't have the beard at the time, so I couldn't exactly, you know, hide my facial, you know, feature like I can now. And he said, no, you know, you don't understand. He said, I don't want to use you for freelance. He said, I want to hire you full time as my director of in-house design here. I quadrupled what I was making in the space of about 10 minutes. I will also never forget that day because I went home that night and I laid out in the bed, long day. My wife comes running into our bedroom and lets me know that she is pregnant. That all happened in one day. So I started an awesome 2 years working at, a fantastic 2 years working at, working at Global Parts Incorporated, a little trucking company out of there. moved into our first place. It was amazing. Now 2012 is when things got. 2012 was a ultimate high and ultimate low. So 2012, I founded what is now known as the main street in most small towns. There's a had this. I actually had a quick question for him. I said, by the way, if I were to, I said, would I be able to use this space when you're not here? It's a really, really weird question to ask somebody that you've just met. But we got to know each other a little bit, and for a year and a half afterwards, if actually right here underneath the step, right there was a little nail with a key on there. That's where I kept my key. And I would go there just about every night, working away. This is when the beard was nothing but a little bit of peach fuzz, and I actually had hair. So this is about 8 years ago. And yeah, I started this idea called I said I got to call this place something. So I called it, just as a joke, I called it the Studio Temporary. So I remember a couple months later, I read a book, or I read an interview by one of my favorite designers named Alan Fletcher. If anybody's ever heard of the design agency Pentagram, he was one of the original founders. The original name of Pentagram was Fletcher, Forbes, and Gill. He was the Fletcher in the name. He was asked in one of his last interviews before he passed away in 2008, he was asked, what is the most important tool in your studio? And in this incredible answer, he said, my head, right? Just fantastic answer. And I could not get that out of my mind. So I went back to the studio and I came up with this idea of good design wherever I happened to be, and decided to stick with the name, the Studio Temporary. Started out as a joke. Hey, 8 years later, no one's laughing. You know, you never know where all this stuff's going to come from. Now, this is the stuff, I remember my first talk, one of my first talks that I gave, when I went full time. This is the old lamppost that was outside the studio, and I got to make this as my first poster. Hey, I'm here. I'm running the studio. This is my first talk. But now we get to the part that no one talks about, and it's all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. I'm sorry. May of 2012, I get laid off. I worked myself out of a job. I tried and tried and tried, find new work, couldn't find it. My wife was working. I was trying to find work. I couldn't find it. I couldn't give away freelance. We had a 1-year-old at the time. It was right after her birthday. We came home one night to an eviction notice on our door. Eviction notice on our loft. I couldn't make the payments. It was nothing to do. We had 2 days. We had to get out. I remember it was 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning. We had just loaded up the last of our stuff into the truck, and we're sitting just in the middle of the floor, just weeping. I've never felt anything like that before. I hope none of y'all ever have to feel that. But that lit a fire in me. I mean, the fire was already there, but it lit something. It changed something in me even more. And I just, you look at, it's so funny. We were sitting down and talking about this. I said, a global pandemic. I said, with all the craziness that she and I have been through in our life, this doesn't even make the top 5. It doesn't even make the top 5. People talk about excuses. They talk about things that are going wrong and stuff like that. When a pandemic doesn't even make the top 5, that's something. I could have given up. I could have done these things. For the longest time, I was just lying to myself. lying to myself that I could do this. And after a while, you start to believe the lie. And that's what it took. That is literally what it took for me to do this, for me to get to this point. So, I mean, we had to move back in with my parents. I mean, we got a 1-year-old. We've been married for 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's embarrassing. And I was like, so what's going to happen next? Well, something great did happen. I got a job. 2014, I got hired at a financial agency as an in-house designer. A year later, I got let go again. Some guy had screwed up something at the company, and they let I think it was 20% of the company go. I mean, it was insane. So I remember walking out of there I was supposed to meet my wife and my little boy for lunch. We had moved to where we're living right now because of this job. I walked out there to meet them carrying a cardboard box. And we sat down in the car. And during this whole time, I'd been doing freelance as the studio temporary for 3 years. Never enough to make it full time, but it was enough to do some fun stuff. And what was it? And we're sitting out there in the car, and my wife looks at me and she says, I'm sick and tired of this. She said, if you are going to go out on your own, do it now. That way, if anything happens, it's only because of something that you did or didn't do. So 2015, March of 2015, I started to full-time run the studio temporary. In end of 2016, I got a chance to know the folks at Switchyards. I got a chance to 90-something-year-old building in downtown Atlanta. I got a chance to design the sign that is hand-painted on the front of a building in the middle of downtown Atlanta, which was incredible. My studio at the time, great times, getting stuff done. I love old things. I love books. I love all these incredible things. The first couple of years, man, it was hard. Those first couple of summers, ridiculous. But we made it through, celebrated 5 years, and I could not be happier. So what I want to really, normally I've got music and everything like that. I don't know how that's going to work on here. You know what? Who wants a little music? Raise your hand. Who wants a little music? Okay, you know what? Hold on 1 second. I'll stop this. Give me 1 second. Let me crank this up real quick. Let me find some music. Boom, 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 boom. I'll turn that down a little bit. All right. Share screen one more time. Okay, this is some of the work that I've done over the last couple of years. Some of it's from more than 2 years ago, but I try to update this as much as humanly possible. So this is about a minute 10, not quite long, not quite short enough to be on an Instagram post, but just the right amount for an IGTV story, if that gives y'all an idea. So let's see, here we go. Can y'all hear that? Okay. All right. And that's kind of, that's been me over the last, and I completely messed that one up. But that has been, what is it? That has been kind of my life over the last 5 years. I don't know how I've come to do a lot of this stuff, but it's been insane, and I'm just thrilled to. I'm just kind of thrilled to be a part of it. You know, it's something else. So really quick, I want to talk about this. This idea of, you know, freedom to work, freedom to live. I mean, I look at what I've done over the course of my career, and that is pretty much, this is all I've ever wanted to do. I wanted to do the work. I wanted to have this opportunity to do this. So I did it. And I even made a pennant. My buddies up at Oxford Pennant did that. A couple of things that I just want to go through to do this real quick. A few things to take notes on. All right. Number one, show up and do the work. This is how I start every single day. I start in the notes, make a list, make a long list, as long as I possibly can, because I don't want this to be an easy thing. I want me to be able to actually try to get this stuff done. Also, my sketches are horrible. I'll just go ahead and come out and say it right now. Sketches are not for the client, they are for you. They are for myself, so I'll continue doing that. I came up with this idea of rise and grind, my version of it. This idea of just getting up and going. You know, it's not about, you know, how perfect this is or how perfect it is. It's about showing up each and every day. And that's literally what I've done for the last 5 years, you know. I got a chance to update my design, which was kind of fun for last year. If y'all were at Creative South last year, I had some stuff with this out here. Number 2, don't take no for an answer. We as designers, illustrators, creative people, we love the word no, right? Wrong. Or as Dwight Schrute would say, false. It is false, people. Don't take no for an answer. My first typeface, I remember I did this, I was working on a little kind of a pitch thing for a museum, and they ended up not doing this. And I said, you know what? I just love this way too much, just way too much. So you know what? I'm just going to go on and do it. So I did this, and is anybody here familiar with Dustin Lee, Retro Supply? But I got to meet Dustin Lee from Retro Supply at Creative South that next year in 2015. And we got to talking, and I actually showed this to him, and he hired me to finish it. This is now solid 70, my first ever typeface. Now, from here, I got a chance to use it in my next talk. I got to do a Pechacucha talk in Atlanta. It was their 25th talk. They hired me to design the poster and do a talk. And they said, well, what, do you have any idea? I said, well, I just came up with this typeface. I think it might be perfect for that. 25th anniversary poster, done. Since then, I have designed multiple typefaces for Dustin. If you have up here, I've got Firebox in the top left, Authority and there in the right, got Transistor down there in the bottom, and Over Easy, an old diner kind of typeface down there in the bottom. And then that took a little break from it for a few years. Now I'm constantly designing type. I'm constantly designing little pieces for projects and for myself. I have this massive file, I'm sure we all do, that just has a bunch of things all around in there that's just, you know what, if I can use it one day, it's here. And so I finally started picking bits and pieces out of there. So I made, towards the end of last year, I built my first typeface from the ground up, Obsessed Compressed. Very, very, I love compressed type. I love extended type. I love that. Everything is so geometric and stands. And I know I'm what is it? Good vampire sneeze there. I love, you know, things that are geometric and everything like that, and that's fine. But in my type, man, I love when things are a little weird. And then last week, I came out with this bad boy. This is Neue Utopia. It just seemed like the perfect kind of typeface for such a time as this. I actually designed about 4 or 5 characters of this when I did the fall 2018 announcement for the band Fish. So this has been about 1.5 years ago in the PH ISH. So that's been fun. You never know what's going to happen. I just did it just because somebody said, you know what, no. And I just didn't like the word no, so I just did it. And next thing you know, this is happening. do it just because. Anybody familiar with King of Pops? King of Pops. Incredible popsicles company out of Atlanta. I messed around. One of their founders, Steven, just came and did a talk. I made this little graphic for his talk. They loved it. Anyway, I put it out a couple of years later and just said, this would be kind of fun. This needs to be on a t-shirt. Ha ha. They're a big company through here. And then somebody on Twitter tagged them, said they need to do this. And then I get a message from King of Pop saying, let's do it. So we did. We made a little badge, little shirt. Ta-da! My hometown company, King of Pops. And I got a chance to make a shirt for them. It was absolutely fantastic. But once again, it's just something for fun. You never know what's going to happen. Do what it takes. Anybody familiar with Johnny Cupcakes? Johnny is an incredible human being. One of the nicest folks I've ever met. And this is how things kind of come full circle. I've been following them for years. All of a sudden, 2 of the typefaces that I had designed for Retro Supply show up in their ads, right? So I get in touch with one of my buddies who's an illustrator there. I get in touch with Johnny and let him know. I bugged him for a year and a half. I'd love to do a shirt for you. I'd love to do a shirt for you. So finally, the day before I'm about to leave for a conference, and I got my week planned out, he calls me at 9 p.m. You want to do a couple shirts? Yeah, let's do it. When do you need them done? I had about a day and a half to do 2 shirts. Now, my day was already full with the conference and everything like that. Way full. So my thought was, okay, if I turn this down now, I'll never get another chance. So I resigned myself that I would not sleep for probably the next day and a half. And I got to make these shirts for him. So these were not just shirts for online. They were shirts for his flagship store in Boston. They're the Boston, with his little scruff there on the beard. It hadn't quite grown in yet. That was like that was the summer beard. You kind of trim it down a little. Anyway, so that was one. And then this was the second one. This was the red line, green line. The trolleys that are there in Boston. If you look at the red one, that's kind of like your new age kind of Boston Red Sox fan, and then you look at like the old 1980s Celtics with the mustache and the hat and everything like that for the green line. That was cool. Also, these are not mock-ups; these are the actual tees, which was really, really cool. So then we got this one, and I went backwards. Sorry, and then we got this little guy right here, and let's see, this was cool. Now, here's the fun part. They used to do these zines, every couple of months. This was the centerfold of the month that mine came out, and I actually have it right here. Talked about how we worked together and how we did all this and our initial sketches and just incredible stuff. But I took a chance. I was like, look, I know it's going to take some sacrifice, but I had sacrificed a lot already before I even got here. You put the work out there. One of the things that I always tell people about, whether it's looking for work or different things like that, is just this idea of be available. Okay. I did this is for the Atlanta Hawks. This was fall of 2018. I did a project for really, really big company that I ended up killing the project. It just didn't work. Just didn't work. Creative, it wasn't a good fit. But I loved this piece so much. I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to put it out. I'm just going to put it out there and we'll see what happens. About a month later, I get a call, hey, Scott, this is Shirley Zhang. I'm the executive creative director of the Atlanta Hawks. Are you free to come in for a meeting tomorrow? We'd like to talk to you about a possible brand identity project. I said, yeah. She's like, oh, do you need to check your schedule? I said, no, I'm good. Their headquarters was about a block and a half away from the studio at the time, which is really cool. So what happened is the NBA started a sanctioned online gaming league called NBA 2K. And each of the teams were part of the NBA franchises. At the time, there were 16 teams, and then they were going to bring in 4 teams this year, and the Hawks are one of them. Now, here's the cool part. Well, that's the logo. That's the cool part, actually. But here's the other cool part. So at the time, Nike's agency of record had not only designed the identity for the league, Nike's agency of record also designed the other 19 teams' logos. As of this moment in the league, I think there's 24 teams in the league right now. I am the only person outside of Nike to design one of these logos. They wanted somebody local, and they did it. She said, I asked her how she found me. I swear to you, this is her exact words. I got on Instagram and started looking. You were the first thing that popped up. That was how they found me. Now, here's a funny story. And I'm moving this along. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of stuff and questions and everything like that. So they had me they had me come up there and do that. At the end of the excuse me, at the end of the email, when we got, here's how to get up there and everything like that, they're like, don't forget to bring your portfolio. Why? It's 2018. I don't have a portfolio. It's online. You know, I mean, just look. But of course you don't say that. Well, I have a 24 by 36 logo poster. It has about 200 something logos on it. It's a massive, massive thing. And I wish I had one right here, but I don't. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to take one of those. So I went up there with that rolled up under my arm, right? So we get up there into the chief marketing officer's office. There was Shirley, who's the creative director. They said, okay, well, let's see your portfolio. And I said, well, I don't have one. I said, but I have something better. So she has this big, long desk, right? So I roll that big poster out, paperweighted on both ends. I sit back in the chair, fold my arms, cross my legs, and I said, you asked me about any one of those logos on there, any one of those 220-something logos on there. Ask me anything about any one of them. I said, I'll tell you when I did it, who I did it for, and a funny story to go with it. 5 minutes later, I had the job. So, you know, you get to put the work at that. Now, here's the fun part. I got to work with them on the courts. Now, all this stuff is digital. All this stuff is rendered within the game. The uniforms, I got rid of that ugly slime volt neon green. Ugh. I brought back the Mutombo era stuff, man, and the Wilkins era. I brought all that stuff back, which was great. Then we got to make hats through New Era. When the NBA does something like this, man, this stuff is everywhere in a moment's notice. It's incredible. I also got I got all the initial members to kind of sign it, which was kind of fun. This is them within the game. Here's the actual team. It's kind of crazy. So all of that happened just because I put something out there. Just because somebody said, you know, hey, this won't work for us, doesn't mean it won't work for something else or that I can't be proud of it. And you never know what's going to happen. All right, very quickly, in other news, I have my first website ever. That happened last year, at the end of last year. I'm very, very happy. thestudiotemporary.com. Check it out. A lot of fun and responsive and yellow. Lots of yellow. Iceman Atlanta here in town. It's awesome ice on demand service. I got a chance to literally redesign everything from there to the ice bag, to the truck, to now a workers union mark. Atlanta's workers union. Oh, fun fact, this is actually 2 fun facts about this one. If you look down at the bottom of the handle, that's actually the shape of the Iceman logo, which is actually the same shape of any of the angles within there, and also is tilted at 32 degrees, which is when everything freezes. Thought that was kind of cool. Inch by Inch, little button company. Buddy Bob, I know y'all know Bob Ewing and Drew. You know, did some amazing stuff for Creative South last year. It was great. Hometown, once again. I had about a week and a half to do all this stuff. So it was a lot of fun. Got to make some rags for my buddy Chris Logston out of Chattanooga, Godspeed, which was a lot of fun. My first neon sign It's A-Town, my little A-Town sign in at Switch Yards. Then it became, if anybody's a soccer fan, Atlanta United made it into a flag, which is now part of their which is now part of their permanent flag collection there at the stadium, which is cool. We have new flags coming this year that I'm getting designed, which is fun. Made some outdoorsy illustrations, Camp America kind of thing for somebody's here at home. Posters for Art in the Park for the Braves. That was amazing. I was very happy to get to do it during the Mets series because we hate the Mets. Got to make a bat for my buddy Jeremy Mitchell Bat Company. This will be featured at the All-Star Game next year, which will be a lot of fun. It was me and 9 other designers, including Todd Radom and John Catino. So I was really happy to be part of this. Truly is an all-star team, and I'm literally just the bat boy on that team. But I was thrilled, beyond thrilled to do this. I'm a lifetime Braves fan, a lifetime baseball fan. So as you can imagine, I'm dying inside with no opening day right now. New logo for my buddy David Tan, runs a place called Tantrum Agency. I'll let y'all figure that one out. Incredible. This is one of my favorite logos of all time. New stuff for the city of Woodstock for their Taste of Woodstock Festival. Fun. New poster illustrations for Opelika Songwriters Festival. I did the initial logo for them last year. This is year number 2. They asked me to work on an illustration style that they could use for forever. So I came up with this idea of combining something local with something historic. If you look at the first half of this, it's a restaurant. It's a big old 2-story New Orleans looking restaurant down there called the Irish Bread Pub. So I combined the Irish Bread Pub with the old commuter train that used to run through the town. Always fun. I can't wait to do next year's poster. New typeface, Obsessed Compressed. You can go to the studiotemporary.bigcartel.com, go to my shop, you can pick it up. Made some fun stuff with it. Neue Utopia, that is also available for a sale price for a very limited time. Made some fun stuff with that. I have an icon design workshop, but because of this stupid virus, I had to cancel all my in-person ones, so I am doing them virtually, just like this. I have one coming up this weekend through AIGA DC. You can still sign up for that at dc.aiga.org. I love AIGA. I've done a lot of cool things with them, and I'm looking forward to that this weekend. More info on my Instagram about that later today. Anybody here a Run the Jewels fan? Run the Jewels, Killer Mike. Anybody? Yep, all the chats. Yeah, it's all lighting up now. So this is Atlanta's own Killer Mike. I got a chance to meet him through, remember, I put up the stuff about the Hawks. I got a chance to work on the Hawks. Through the Hawks, I met Killer Mike. And I just so happened when I had a chance to meet him, the Hawks CMO was there and said, this was the guy that I've been telling you about who's working on all our Hawks stuff. I didn't know that they were talking to him about me. He flipped out. Love your stuff, man. This is awesome. This is this. Gave me his cell phone number. First time I met him. We're going to chop some stuff up. We're going to make some stuff happen. I've been texting him like all week and stuff. We're working on some cool stuff. So first thing we got a chance to do with him was he's got a barber shop there that he and his wife co-own together called the Swag Shop, Shave, Wash, and Groove. Got a chance to do some new stuff for them. That is all coming out as soon as all this stuff finishes up. Then we decided to add another person to the mix, or they did. I actually had nothing to do with it. It just sounds cooler to say. Anybody familiar with a guy named T.I.? Yep. So Killer Mike and T.I., there was an old restaurant down here called Bankhead Seafood that had been around for over 50 years. The lady who'd been there shut it down. She was almost 90. She was like, I just can't keep doing this. But it was a old, like a West Side Atlanta staple. And they said, we're bringing it back. Killer Mike and T.I. went in together. T.I. bought the building, and then he and Mike went in together and bought the company. And this is Bankhead Seafood. 50 years of history, of culture, of feeding the neighborhoods, of looking out for your community, all of that put into one thing. Now, I had 5 days to do the logo, right? 5 days. This was insane. After day 4, I had nothing. All of this came together in about an hour and a half, the last day that I had. Of course, the little sports designer in me make a secondary mark. This is actually everybody's favorite piece. This is going to be on hats and shirts and everything like that. Everybody flipped. I remember I was at TI's agency, Grand Hustle. I remember I was at Grand Hustle, and I was showing them all of this. Was about half. There was probably about 10, 12 folks sitting on the table, and they're all just kind of like this, just looking. I brought this up. The moment I put this up, every single one of them, like in unison, went, "Oh yeah!" Like every one of them in unison. It was so great. That ended up selling the whole thing. So of course, we made some fun stuff. Homemade was sold in Atlanta. Made some other fun little pieces. So Bankhead Seafood. Of course, West Side stuff, which is fun. Brought back the special. And then, of course, you got to get in a few words from the founders. These will be T-shirts and other fun stuff from there, which was a lot of fun to make. Then the truck. This truck is 24 feet long. It is massive. I come up to I'm 6'1" and about $185. I come up to about right here. Right about the under part of the little dollar sign. This is a massive truck. Massive truck. Painted the whole thing black. It was pure white, silver rims, all this stuff in there. I went to them and I said, the paint folks, and I said, murder it. Murder the whole truck. The rims, the fenders, everything. Black. Black as night. As black as possible. And then we put this awesome, like pearlescent, like metallic looking yellow and red on there. It looks amazing. And now this was at the launch event. And of course, he's been wearing this stuff all over the place. So it has been nuts. Made it in the paper. Just all kind of craziness. So that's kind of what's been going on. Okay, very, very quickly, and then I'm done. Please remember these things very, very. If you take nothing away from this, please remember this. Number one, have some respect. Please do. I'm not just talking about your person. I'm not talking about the 6 feet of space that we're doing about right now. I'm talking about people around you. I'm talking about the people that are going through some stuff. I'm talking about your waiter and your waitress at a restaurant. I've seen people lose work because of how they treat these people. Have some respect. Number two, no one talks about this, but it's true. I missed the first year of my kid's life. I don't say that with any type of pride at all. None. But it's true. Obsession comes with a cost. Some might not be that dire. Some might be, hey, maybe I don't go out with my friends tonight. Maybe I just, I have to do what I have to do, to get done what needs to get done. I'm willing to pay it. You do what it takes to make this happen. Take time for others. Please do. Help some folks out if you can. We're very privileged to be able to do what we do. Let's use it to have, to take some time for others. This is very important. People will forget about your work. They will. It'll turn to pixels and dust, but they will not forget your name. People aren't just hiring your work, they're hiring you. They will remember how you treated them. They will remember your interactions with them. I was recently, somebody tried to, at the end of last year, tried to get me kicked out of a conference because they didn't get the spot went to me. They were trying to get in there. They tried to get me kicked out of a conference by emailing accusing me of some bad stuff. Not only were they completely disproved, the promoters called me and were like, this just came in, and I'm speechless. I mean, you're insane. Like this is unbelievable. And I said, you can call anybody and they can tell you this is all absolutely insane. The next words I'll always remember, she said, we already did. And every single one of them said the exact same thing, which is basically exactly what I said, that it's not possible. And At that time, it wouldn't have mattered how good my work is or how good of a speaker I was. My reputation and my testimony was exactly what got me through all that. Your name means something. Don't ever forget that. This is true. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you look like. I don't care who you voted for. I really don't. Human being is human being. The title of this talk is Scott Fuller, Human Being. That's what I am. That's what you are. Just remember this, and there are no excuses. None. None. I have been evicted. I have almost died. I have, all of this stuff has happened. I have every excuse in the world to stop doing what I'm doing. There are no excuses. And remember, the last thing I want you guys to remember, we've gone through all of this craziness. This is fun. This is so much fun. I love what I do. I love that I get a chance to do this every day. I love the people that I get to do it for. I just got to make a logo for my little boy, and I was so happy to do that. He was freaking out. Daddy made me a logo, and I'm gonna start crying again. And remember, this is who I'm doing it for. This is my lovely wife, Julie. My little boy. This is Sean. Oh my goodness. Just a fantastic time, my little guy. This was us at Disney. We got to go for the first time. It was incredible. Okay, last story, and then I'm done. We got video. There's video out there of him running up and hugging Mickey and everything like that. And of course, I went up there to see him. I remember he turned to Mickey, and I came up there. He said, Mickey, I want you to meet my dad. He's an artist just like you. Done. This is who I do it for. This is why I get to love doing what I do. Just an incredible time. I love my family. It's our little kitty Ella. She's been like the heart and soul of one. And of course, my little boy down there acting a ham. I have had a wonderful career in design, and the crazy part is I am literally just getting started. It has not been easy. Parts of it have not been fun, but I wouldn't give this up for anything. I'm done. If you want to give me a follow, I'm at Studio Temporary on Instagram and studiotemporary.com. You can check out my site and everything there. Thank you to Victor. Thank you to all y'all. I know this whole Zoom thing is crazy. I hope that y'all have all bought stock in have all bought stock in Zoom and whatnot. So, man. But anyway, thank y'all so much. I would, if you have some time, Victor, if you have any questions straight from Victor, I'd love to know. If y'all have any questions at all, please let me have them. Please, please, please.
Yeah, we definitely have time for a Q&A. So if anybody has questions for,
I've got plenty of time. I'm not going anywhere. So please, please pop them up there.
Hey, Scott. You mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah. Can you say?
No, you got to wait in line.
Oh, dang.
No, go ahead.
I know it's Colby, but go ahead and say your name.
This is Colby Kleitz. So my question is, have you had like a client or someone you're trying to work with, but haven't actually been able to like create, the thing that you want to, or like haven't been able to meet like the bar of like expectation? Like, I don't know if I'm wording that right. Like, have you had a
talking
client
about like meeting their expectations or meeting my own expectations?
Well, I guess personally, like your own, really, but I guess it could also work with the client. But
there have been some times where I've had to kill a project just because they have no clue what they want. Like it kept changing. It's like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. No, actually, we want this, and actually, we want that. And finally, I got to the point. I just said, guys, look, I'm already over budget. I'm already everything like that. I just can't do this. I'm just gonna have to stop it right here. I said, is there any guarantee that it's going to be right this time? And no, there's not. All right, we're killing the project. As far as my own things, there will always be things that you'll have to give up at times. I'm fine with that. But as far as meeting my own thing, the goal for me is not to make a beautiful piece of design for me. The goal for me is to make a piece of design that does the job it's supposed to do for the client. I don't consider myself an artist. I'm a designer, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to put necessarily my own spin on this chain. I'm trying to give them the best thing possible as far as what they're trying to do and what they're trying to make. Like, I do everything I can to set the stage before I ever put pencil to paper, and that helps because now I know which direction we're trying to go. That Bankhead project literally got completely upended with about a day and a half to go on that project. They were like, actually, we were talking about this direction, now we're trying to go this direction. So I had to literally scrap everything that I had done and start over again, and it turned out better. So it's not necessarily about like, I feel this or I feel that, That's just my thought on it. There are times you will have to kill a project. There are times that, some things may not work out. It's been few and far between, but they've always been amicable for me. But you just, you understand what you're trying to do and what they're trying to do. You come together, and usually you can come up with something that's unique and memorable, and something that they really, really enjoy, something that they would want to be proud of.
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, who's next?
I have a question.
Yes. Hello.
Okay.
What's your name?
Hello, Jill Hayes. Sorry, Jill Hayes. And
Jill, go for it.
I could think of a lot of questions, but I'll ask one that I've been kind of struggling with lately. Like, just in terms of like any project you go into, what is your process of just picking your colors and choosing them? And I mean, like, solidifying what they're going to be, because I find myself changing them throughout, just like all the time.
Oh, I do the same.
Okay.
I do the same. I think it depends on. I think sometimes it depends on the industry. I think it depends on what you're trying to say. I think with something like Bankhead Seafood, everything they had was like, the old building was like burgundy, and then there was like a bunch of black and white and wood kind of stuff. So these colors wouldn't have worked with the original bit. But this has become a very Atlanta brand, and those colors are very Atlanta. So I put my own spin on the way those colors looked. Not quite as, they're still bold, but they weren't as vibrant. I wanted them to look like they had been around for a while. So they were slightly desaturated, you know what I mean? And then other things like, the Hawks choosing those colors, or, here's another thing. When I was at the financial place, everybody was like, what would be awesome? And I'll bet nobody saw this before. We could use green, because that's like money, and or like gold. And I'm like, nobody wanted to use red, because of course you're in the red. That's my one defining moment there was the fact that I actually got to use red as part of somebody's logo. And it was nuts. But here's the thing. You can make a design that works kind of within an industry, but you can still make it pop. It all comes back to the person. For me, a lot of times it comes back to the personality of the client, the personality of the business as well. I mean, you think about Walmart when they changed to what they have now. Before, it was all this horrible navy and white. That was it. And then maybe they had that little splash of yellow with the happy faces and everything like that. And now they lightened up that blue and made it more welcoming. And they have that yellow now, which is a much bigger piece of their current identity. They decided that when they became a certain thing, they become more friendly, they become more consumer focused. All of a sudden, their colors start to change. So it's not just about choosing something that's cool. It's looking at the personality of the brand, of the client, of who they're actually trying to go for, and remembering that these colors are going to stick around for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, who's next? One down. We got two down and 60 to go. Let's keep them coming, y'all.
If you can't, for whatever reason, ask a question over the over Zoom, you can type it into the
Yeah,
chat.
type it in the
And
type in the old chat box, please.
we'll go ahead and read it. I'll read it for the benefit of the recording. But in an effort to let everybody kind of, nobody has a question right now, kind of think about it. There's a couple of questions I had. How did the trucking guy know that you were a designer?
At
To be able
the
to hire
time, at the time, the only thing that I was using design for was as a sales tactic.
So he would come in and you would talk to him about design?
So I would talk about the computing power of, you know, the processing power and everything like that in the computer. And I would say, you know, I'm a designer and I use X, Y, Z and everything like that, you know, and it's just, you know, for me, it runs so smooth and runs this and everything like that. So I use, at the time, the only thing I was using design for was a sales tactic.
Okay.
And it paid off in that aspect.
Okay. Rebecca Rivera, you have a question?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Rivera. I have like a statement question. I love the typeface that you were using through the presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, did you make it? Super cool. I love like the little like bits that were like taking out of like the one that corresponded with the rest of it. But I guess since you've made a bunch, it kind of looks similar to what you've done. So I just like assume that you made it. Do you have some advice on like how to take that in and actually go ahead and make every letter be cohesive? I know it's a lot of work, but something I'm trying to wrap my mind around.
So there's a few ways to do that. I was told, I've been told multiple things coming through. You know, looking at other typefaces for sure, understanding your characters, understanding kind of the etymology of that, or the what is it, kind of the architecture of letters, I think helps a lot. I love looking through old fun things. See if I can find, you know, I'll grab something like this, like old Grand Ole Opry thing. You know, I mean, look at this. Look at the type on there. I mean, just beautiful. So much of this type has been drawn just for one piece, just for one product, you know. But what if that typeface actually existed? You know, what if I took the basic foundations of these slabs and maybe they were a little straighter, maybe they were a little rounder or something like that, and you just kind of play around with it. You know, that's how some of my typefaces have started. I saw one character that I just fell in love with and try to build everything out from there. As for making it, it, you know, it's a work, it's a labor of love for sure. As a, you know, as an engineer, yeah, I kind of have the mindset, and as a machinist and stuff, I can sit down and do what seems like menial work, and I can do it for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time, and not blink. But what I would say is, you know, study, you know, was typefaces, whether it's study unique typefaces, not just not just your basic, you know, Helveticas and Universe and Gotham and stuff like that. You know, there's some stuff to learn from there. Study some of the cooler, older ones, you know, and get this idea of how cool and fun these can be. And you already, I'm sure, make little pieces of type or customize little pieces of type for your own designs. You know, what if you were to take that one piece that you customized and kind of build something out from there? What would that look like? And that's literally how a lot of my thought process starts. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. And then just like a follow-up question, how do you like identify that element that keeps your type consistent? Like, what do you do? Do you see like your favorite thing from the letter form?
So I'm trying to think. A lot of times it's the thickness. So like if you look at my original, if you look at some of the like the Neue Utopia that I did, I wanted something. I love the squatty and bold kind of bit to it, but like the sides are thicker. The top is a little thinner, you know, just to give it that nice bit. I didn't want any hard, really hard angles on there. I wanted things to be softer, but I still wanted it to kind of make this punch, but I didn't want it to be too bubbly. I started out with like a P, an H, and an S, and I just kind of built it. I just kind of built it out from there. And once you had those first couple of characters, you can start to say, all right, does this match this? Does this match that? And once you start getting them all together, those initial 26, then that's when things start to really come together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, who's
Thank
next?
you, Rebecca. Caitlin Kennedy has a question. She writes in the chat, "Hi Scott, what advice would you give someone who wants to get into Major League Sports Design / marketing?"
Ooh, I want to get into Major League Sports Design / marketing. I've had an awesome opportunity to work with some really cool people, but really it starts from, once again, just putting the work out there. Find the creative directors, find the people in the industry. I can say right now, sports designers are some of the coolest, nicest people in the design industry, bar none. They love what they do. They're very passionate about what they do. They love dealing with people. They love, and all that. So, get in touch with them. They're very happy to help out. That would be my biggest bit from there. And send them some fun stuff. Just be like, hey, made this or whatever, and you never know. I mean, but show them you're a fan.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin, for the question. And I just want to remind you that you can also ask the same question to our Thursday speaker who works for the Bucks. And I also want to point out that the Marlins, the designer of the Marlins, one of our alums. So we also have that. So it's all the connections as well. Jessica Tyson has a question. What would be the best advice you could give us entering a declining job force in terms of portfolios, cover letters, etc.? What stands out in a time just as this? That's a great question, Jess.
Be yourself. You're not looking to fall in line with everybody else. I mean, target it to really who you're, have some target to, who you're trying to impress, but be yourself. I'm not going in there and putting on airs or, whatnot. I actually clean up really well. I can put on a full-on suit. I can do a double Windsor in the tie, the whole shebang. I can. I remember when I did, when I went to my first interview at the financial agency, they knew I was a freelancer. Everybody knew me as a studio temporary at that point. They said, show up like you normally do. It was very cold, so I showed up. I had my jeans, I had my hat, my beard, I had my backpack, my hoodie with my jacket over the hoodie kind of thing. I was ready. So I walked in there and they said, the lady at the front desk said, yes, what are you here to pick up? And I said, oh, my first job. And I said, my first interview. I said, I'll be an interview designer today. And she, oh, I'm so sorry. So I basically, the next time around, they were like, okay, well, we're going to do with the president of the company, so dress up. Okay, that's fine. So basically turned into like a whole Pretty Woman kind of a thing. I walked in there with my suit and this, and the shoe buckle, my shoes shined, and, suit and everything on, no hat. I went there, yes, sir. What can we get for you? Do you need a coffee? Do you need this? And I'm like, you realize I'm the same guy who came in 3 days ago wearing all this stuff. I literally got to be what is it?
Julia
I literally
Roberts.
got to be Pretty Woman for the next for like 10 seconds. So but be yourself, and show off your good stuff. I don't care if it's for a big client but the work isn't great, don't show it. Show the good stuff, show your best stuff. I want to see your best stuff, because I can tell you, if I'm looking through somebody's stuff, you've got about 5 seconds. 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of I'm literally just ding, ding, ding. If I don't see anything, I move on. If I don't see anything that really catches my eye, I don't. And they could be for big clients, it's fine. But if the work is not great or not good, put your best stuff out there. Don't put your biggest stuff out there. Put your best stuff out there, whether it's for a client, whether it's for yourself, whatever.
Thank you, Jess. We have another chat question from Matt Dunn. Matt's actually one of our, he teaches advanced illustration with us, and he works at the dean's office, and he hails from Atlanta. And he asked, related topic, long shot question from a fellow Atlian Do you know anyone working on the new Falcons uniforms or related merchandise? If so, obviously wouldn't expect any details, but I can't help but ask.
I do, and I can't say a word. Next question. I also have some ideas about the Hawk stuff too, but I also can't say anything about that. Next question. Nice try.
Maybe we can ask him when he's not being recorded.
No, I still can't say it. Trust me. There are these NDAs are no joke.
All right. Alanud asks, what do you think about doing free work but with guaranteed exposure?
I'm not going to be, if some folks say, "When should I hire you to do this?" I just don't do it. I just don't. Like, if I want to make something and just give it to somebody to do whatever, like I'm doing something for an industry print shop. We're going to do a like a fundraiser kind of a thing. I approached him. You know, I knew I probably wouldn't get. I wasn't going in there trying to get paid. I just said, you know what, I think this might be cool, and Tony and I are gonna make up something. You know, am I gonna get a little exposure out of it? I mean, my name's gonna be on it, so that's fine. But that's not the whole idea. But if somebody says we can put you here or put you there, then that's basically a non-starter for me. I get paid what I'm worth or as much as they can. So, you know, that's up to you if you want to do that. But it's you know, it's not anything that I'm jumping up and down to do.
All right. On that note, if I could piggyback off that question before we move on to the next question, how do you go about pricing? I know that's a question that a lot of my students are always asking me. How do you go about pricing? Do you price the same for the Hawks as you would for a smaller company and vice versa? That kind of thing?
No, it's value based. It's value based. So, like, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 for one company might be, you know, that might, for them, $2,000 might be like, that's like their equivalent of $10,000. You know, I have a lot of times what I do is I will tell people, you know, I'll ask them, what are you looking at for budget or stuff like that. Depending on the type of workload and stuff I have, I might work something out with them. But generally I say, you know, this is what it would cost, you know, and I would, you know, I look at my hours, I look at, so with that, I don't really count hours. I do flat rate, just because it's a lot easier, a lot simpler. But if I say, all right, this is normally $2,000, and they say, well, we have 1,000, and I said, okay, well, tell me how close you can get, and half the time they'll come back and say, I could do 1,700, 1,800, or something like that. I'll take that. You know, it's like, will I knock up $200 and get the project, or will I be, you know, that real just person over like $200 and get nothing, you know? And then the same thing, like I have even bartered things before where it's like, you know, I think like this project should be $10,000. Well, we have 9. Okay, well, here's what we can do. You know, with that $1,000, there's other things that you have that I like, whether it's merch, whether it's tickets, whether it's something like that, and to make up that amount. So, you know, that's also another fun thing to do. Like here's one. I did. I have there's a company called Aviate, and they make these incredible watches, which none of mine in here right now. They're like $400 or $500 watch. They asked me to make like a quick little design for for the watch, like for the launch, that they can just throw up on their Instagram. And in exchange, they gave me a $500 watch. I'll do that. I'll do that. I've got 4 watches from them, and I love it. So it's getting something in return, and exposure is not enough.
Thank you. And I think we have one last question. This one's from Emily Walker, but it's also being seconded by Jill and Anthony. Emily's question is, if you ever lose motivation or hit a wall in a project, what do you do to get out of this funk?
First thing I would say, I mean, if you're talking about this idea of creative block, I think it's a myth. I don't think it exists. I think there are always extenuating, factors and stuff like that. You might be tired. You've been up for a long time. You've been stuff like that. You might be hungry. You might just need to get up. You might need some water. I mean, a little exercise. So there is that.
I think the question also comes from the idea that morale after everything that's happening, after the fact that a lot of these students here won't be able to do commencement and things like that. I think there's a general kind of like, a lot of us are feeling a little bit of a morale shift. So I
Gotcha.
think that question might be kind of like stemming from
Yeah, it's the two-part answer. The two-part answer. That was number one. Number two, we all felt it. I mean, let's be honest, we all felt it. I know I did. I had a lot of things canceled and postponed. It was touch and go for me there for about a week. So, yeah, it's going to be a little rough. But at the same time, when you look at something like this, and I do this in a project too, if I've been working on something for just a little too long, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll make something for myself or work on my own stuff or just have a little bit of fun, with this, the morale and stuff like that. Yeah, we might, you might miss the commencement, and I know that's a big deal. You might have to do stuff virtually. I know that can be a pain. But it's been said before that the worst day in design is better by far than the best day at any other job that I've ever done. So know that when you do graduate, when you do get out of this, that in the end you're still a designer, you're still getting to do what you love. And whether you walk down an aisle or whether you have to hang around inside, I know for extroverts like me, that can be really tough. For introverts, you're like, I'm just doing my usual thing, but with less trips to Whole Foods. So, so there is that. And it is, it can be kind of a pain, but in the end, realizing that, you still getting to go to a great school, you still getting to learn from great people like Vitito here over here. You still have incredible, classmates and folks like that, and you're working, and you're going to get to do some incredible stuff. All this is going to pass. This is all going to pass. The other cool thing you can do is figure out fun ways to take advantage of the situation that you're in. For me, it's been virtual talks like this, or it's been virtual icon workshops. It's been, making more digital products and stuff like that. I made some coloring sheets for kids about a week and a half ago. I mean, I've never done that before, and I had a great time doing it. It's all about remembering what you're actually doing, where you came from, and how privileged we are to still get to be where we are and do that. Yeah, things are a little, they're a little messed up right now, and things are, it's a little harder to get out or impossible in some places, and things are drying up here and there. But just remember, we're problem solvers. We're creative problem solvers, visual problem solvers. Let's have some fun with it.
Awesome. On that note, I don't think there's any more other questions on the chat, but thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
If they want to get a hold of you or follow you, I think you had it on your screen, but can you remind us how to follow you on Instagram?
My website is thestudiotemporary.com. You can get to my shop, my Instagram, everything from there. On Twitter, on Instagram, or whatever, I am at Studio Temporary. Thank you, Ryan. I would love, if you had to follow along. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or shoot me a direct message. I think I've got a few already on my. I think I have a few already on my on my phone. My phone's been blowing up over here, but once again, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the opportunity. Victor is the man. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward when we get to, when all this stuff is done. I want to get back down to Orlando, do this in person, and we are going back to Pig Floyd's.
There we go.
We are going back to Pig
Absolutely.
Floyd. That was
that's right. I forgot we did that little road trip. Yeah, like
it's amazing.
Totally
I got to go around. And how's your daughter, by the way? How is she?
She's good. She's upstairs in class.
Oh, bummer. Please tell her I said hey.
I will.
Please tell her I said hey. I love his little daughter is so cute. So much. She is hysterical. But seriously, thank y'all so much for your time. By the way, all those stories completely true. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And I wish y'all the very best of luck and brain power and whatnot.
Thank you. I'm gonna